Like Local Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Hughes, and my co host,
Jonathan Parker,
where our skills are questionable.
but our spirit is unstoppable.
Jonathan, episode 13, and we always want to start with thanking our sponsors. We want to thank Kobe McKinney with Underwood Realty. For all your real estate needs, go see Kobe. Kobe's been our title sponsor now for 2 years. We appreciate Kobe for doing that for us.
Go check out hashtag Hollies and be the gift at their new location on the square. It's right next door to where hashtag Hollies was. So make sure, Christmas time's coming up. And I know she's got a very exciting a Friendsgiving thing coming up on, I think they do it on Thursday of Thanksgiving, bleeding into Black Friday. So make sure you go see Holly. Shop local, guys. It's so great to shop locally.
Yep, and Infinity Promotions for all of our backdrop and our apparel and our tablecloth we do. If you, any kind of special stuff like that you need, get in touch with me and I'll get in touch with Steve and put you guys together. And Infinity Promotions can do all of your promotion stuff.
And our final sponsor, of course, is Anthony Hackett with Farm Bureau out of Lafayette. Go see Anthony for all your insurance needs. And we appreciate him jumping on this year and being our sponsor for our coaches segment.
Well, Jonathan, we're in week 3 of the TSSAA high school football playoffs, and unfortunately for Gornsville, they go down to Marion County and lose to Marion County, the defending 2A state champions. They lose 42-14.
It's always hard to knock off the defending state champions. They go down and really a really good, well played ball game for about 2.5 quarters. And there was a pretty questionable call, and let's just call it a bad call on a forward pass that should have been called a forward pass, but it was called a fumble. And then from that point on, Marion County just kind of basically took over the game. And really and truthfully, you look at it from my perspective, the best team on the field, on that Friday night won because they had the best player on the field. And that, when you have a kid that has, what do you have, 4 touchdowns, 1 defensive touchdown, it's going to be hard to beat. I mean, Gornsville outgained them. Gornsville threw the ball really well, but again, penalties, mistakes. It's the team that usually makes the fewest mistakes normally wins the ball game.
Well, here you look at it too. You look at 14-0 quick in the first quarter, and then Gornsville turns around and ties the game at 14. And then it's 21-14 going down in the third quarter where they had the bad call for the refs. Now we always like to say you don't blame the game on one call. It was a really momentum turning play call or wrong call actually because anybody that knows football, and I can't believe these officials, I have no idea where they're from, but anybody knows a forward pitch is a pass, right? You pitch it forward, it is a pass, and I really don't know. Even when they got together, I'm not sure how they didn't get the correct call. And I'm sure that I'm sure somebody called into TSSAA and they probably going to review it and all that. But, hindsight's 2020. After that, Gornsville kind of self imploded a little bit. Traditionally they're not a lot penalized team, and they had a lot of penalties after that play happened. A personal foul started. And he got a little bit chippy, and I'm sure the blood was boiling and tempers were flaring. It's not a traditional Steven Jackson coach team that you see them do that. But that call kind of turned the tide, and Marion County did kind of take over and kind of just blow out the rest of the game.
Exactly, and you if ifs and nuts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, and it's tough. Uh, you know, you hate seeing games decided by referees, but again, looking at it, you take away that play call, and yeah, it could have been a different ball game because Gornsville was driving,
Yep.
and it could have been a different outcome. But you look, that one play is not gonna. You just can't look at that and say that was the reason they lost. And you had 10 penalties, you had 3 turnovers, you had a defensive touchdown on the pick six. Those are all big things in a ball game that you can't overcome all of those, especially at the high school level. When you look on the other side of Marion County, they had 1 fumble, but it
They
wasn't
recovered. Yep.
recovered,
Yeah.
and they only had 3 penalties. So you can look at it and say, well, that's home cooking. But again, it's one of those things that they're reason that they're defending champions. And I was real impressed with the Humphreys kid, and adding fuel to the fire. There was noise out there at the beginning of the week that got posted to their page, and this time of year when you get the second, third round of the playoffs, it's time to buckle your chin straps. Let's keep our mouth shut. Let's go play football. Uh, and let the outcomes be the outcomes, because as well as I do, in this day and age of social media and all those things, you put something out there, you put fuel out there for these players and these coaches, they're going to respond. And when you have a pedigree like Marion County, that's just going to add fuel to that fire.
And it did, and you can see that. But here's what really stood out to me the most is, this is the first game that Gornsville has been outrushed this season in about 5 or 6 games in a row. And actually, Marion County actually almost see 80 more yards rushing than what Gornsville had on the night. And it's just something not a typical Gornsville team this year. They usually outrush their opponents. But this time, actually, Gornsville had a really good passing game. Jay Foster had a great night throwing the ball. He almost 200 yards passing, 12 of 18. He did have the one pick six. But you look at it, I mean, they really threw the ball well. And you thought late in the second half that they may go to that more, because it looked like Marion County really didn't have an answer for them on the passing side of the ball.
That's what it seemed like to me. They were having success throwing the football, and Marion County was having a hard time stopping it. And again, it's tough, it's difficult, but again, congratulations to Gornsville on a great season, in an undefeated regular season. And it's always, and I know there's bitterness over there, and there's they still haven't recovered. But again, a successful season. I hate it for the seniors, because I really think had they gotten by Marion County, they had a really good chance to go to Chattanooga and play either Huntington or Milan, uh, against an Eagle. That the Marion County plays Eagleton, which is a relatively new school out of Maryville Count out of Maryville. So again, congratulations, Coach Jackson, his staff, and the seniors. Hate it for them, but they've got good things on the horizon, because a lot of the kids that we saw this year, they're they're sophomores, juniors, heavy. So expect the same thing from them coming up next year.
Well, you look at it, 12-1. It's not nothing to squawk at, right? 12-1. They won 12 straight games. Yeah, unfortunately, you lost in the third round. But they always say though, you talk about a lot of the old guys and stuff like this, that the third round of the playoffs is usually your really championship game.
Right.
Uh, and you look at Gordonsville, Marion County right there. It really was a championship game atmosphere down there, and they say that. You look at even the upper classes like Oakland and Green Hill. Once again, a championship atmosphere. Beach and Page. You look at all this stuff in the third round of what you got to get. And I agreed with you. If Gornsville would have won Friday night, I expected them and I picked them to go on to get to Chattanooga.
And that's the way it's usually been set up. The way in that smaller classification is that third round. A lot of time you get that one versus one, and it's the East and the West and the middle, and in the lower classifications you kind of see that matchup generally gets the best of the best, uh, and then sometimes you don't get quite as good a matchup in the finals in the lower classifications. Now in 6A, 5A, you still got your Oaklands, your Blackmans, uh, Southwinds, Page, and although Pearl Cone and 4A. And those matchups don't always. You usually get a pretty good game in that from 4 to 6A.
Yeah, you do. Once again, congratulations to Coach Jackson and his staff and the whole team and the seniors. They won a lot of football games. You look at that senior class, all the way from when they was freshmen to now, they won a lot of football games. And, to go out, yeah, you didn't get what you wanted. You didn't get to Chattanooga and try to play for that gold ball, but you won 12 straight games in a row. It's something that a Gordonsville team hadn't done in a lot of years. So there's nothing to hang your head about. But I'm sure they'll come back. They're already on the grind now to start back and get back to this echelon next year.
It sucks, but at the end of the day, there can only be one state champion, and it's tough to go undefeated. And but again, a great season. Again, congratulations to Coach Jackson and his staff. He's done a great job over there, his alma mater, and I don't expect anything differently from this group next year.
And you look at it, we're going to flip over to the basketball side of the house in the county. All kinds of stuff happening in the county in basketball. Morrisville basketball tipped off last week. Smith County basketball tipped off and had had a big play day this weekend. But then you look at Smith County and the possibility of some transfers moving out of the program, going elsewhere. What does that do to the Smith County basketball team? Um, one of the best players on the team that I feel like that kind of led your team is kind of, up in the air about transferring out or staying. You just don't know right now. So that turns Coach Basel's team into a more of a young team that you got to pull somebody now off your bench that don't play a lot of minutes to cover that role.
Well, it definitely shortens your bench for one. Uh, and again, it's this whole transfer thing that I wished the NCAA would kind of set a stipulations and everything to go by, and that would bleed into these high schools. That it's going to hurt. These transfer rules and everything are going to eventually hurt the small town teams if they see the opportunity to go move. And it's not just in basketball. It's not just, it's in all sports.
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity to take one of a better player off of a team and just go transfer, and that one time thing that you can do that. And look, I understand that people move, and that's totally fine. But this whole transfer, you know, for reasons, and we don't know the reasons, and we can only speculate. But uh, it's difficult. It puts teams and coaches in a difficult spot when you've got a kid that you depend on uh, to be one of your main players, and he just transfers, whether it's whatever reason. It really weakens your team as a whole.
Yeah, and the reason is neither here nor there, but you never want to see that when you're trying to build a program, and especially with that group of guys who started out as freshmen and played a lot of minutes. You don't want to see that continuity broken up by people leaving and getting upset, and you don't want to see that. And unfortunately, it happens this day and time, and not just here in Smith County, it happens everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
You got people transferring all over the state, going you know to better their situation, and you hate to see that. And you're right, Jonathan. I wish the TSSAA would get a bigger grasp on that, and kind of used to back in the old days. You couldn't, unless you're going to move and you live there, you couldn't transfer out and do any of this stuff. Now they got this one time rule in where special circumstances you can transfer out and go play for anybody else you want to.
Well, and back in the day, I mean, and I know a perfect example of, we had a kid that played on the golf team back in the 2000s. I mean, he transferred from Gornsville to come up here, and he had to sit out. I mean, he couldn't play for a year, and uh, he had to wait till that cycle was over. And so they've changed the rules, and again, it seems like it's a free for all. And again, you want what's best for the kids, and that's the one thing that, for whatever reason, the kids, look at Caden Powell. I mean, he transferred to Beach High School, and what would Smith County had been if Caden had been here? Now his mom and dad got a coaching opportunity at Beach, and he's done great things there. So and you kudos to the kids for trying to better themselves, because they were going to play. We you and I both know, and everybody knows, that Beach is a higher classification, so you're going to play tougher competition. And but it's just it's mind boggling to me, these transfers, and it's at the high school level, at the college level. It's just something needs to be done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and you look at Smith County, they go in and they play Loretto Friday night and take the defending state champions in a buzzer beater to beat them at the end of the game. So Smith County's had an upward trend to where their basketball program is going, and now you just don't know if you do lose this caliber of a player that you lose. Um, you don't know where you go from there, right? I know it's a next man up mentality all the time,
All the time.
but when you have experience like that you lose, it's hard to replace experience, even with the next man up mentality.
Well, Michael, we talk about it all the time. It's a cultural thing, and it's all sports. You want to build a culture within a program, within an athletic department, that you want success within your program, and that takes everybody working for one goal. It doesn't mean that the football coach and the football players are leading that. It's all collectively, all sports working together toward one goal, and that to me is the thing. If you get these transfers, you feel like there's uh, a mole maybe in there, or something that's causing unrest, and it's difficult.
It is difficult. It is difficult, and like you say, you hate to see it, and you know what happens. It's going to happen. It's regardless. It's going to happen everywhere outside of Smith County as well. It's going to happen a lot of different places, but so I'm sure Coach Basile, he'll fix it. He'll find the next man up, and they'll keep rolling. And you look at Gornsville, who's a little younger on the basketball. They lost a senior laden team last year, and you look at the Carter Gibson, who's not
Gibson.
playing this year.
Hmm.
Is concentrating more on golf, which loses a lot of your scoring. Almost all of your scoring has to be replaced from last year's team. You still got Jay Foster, who's your point guard, who did a lot of scoring last year, but you got to replace four scoring starters out of last year's roster. So you look to have Gornsville to have a few growing pains, but I expect them to have a few growing pains in football, and they went 12-0 to start out the
Right.
season. So you never know how it's going to roll.
That's exactly right. And they'll get Jay acclimated to the basketball, and they'll be ready to rock and roll here in a few weeks. And you look at the girls side of it. The Smith County girls is off to a rip roaring start.
Yeah.
They're playing some really good basketball right now, and man, I'm just excited to see what this group of girls can do.
Yeah, and you look at Coach Brock on the Gornsville side, her second year, working her program into the Gornsville the Tigerettes over there, and I expect good things out of them again. I'm sure they're ready to go, and it looks like even Laney Foster, who's going to come up from the eighth grade and play on the high school team, just like Coach Brock's daughter did last year, and contributed a lot of minutes. And I expect Laney to do the same thing for the high school team.
Exactly, and we're going to try to get all of our high school coaches on before we end the season. We if you're listening out there, we'd really like to come on and talk about your program and where it's at and where it's going.
Yep, and we'll continue. We will not have an episode this Sunday night just because of Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving holiday. So we'll move to a night next week, and we look to continue our middle school basketball series as well. We had you defeated on last week, and we're expect to get the other four coaches or four schools in the next 4 weeks to get that knocked out. And you're right, Jonathan. We want to have our high school basketball coaches come on and talk about their team and their season and what the outlook is, because you look at Coach Farrell, who's already been to the Glass House once, who wants to get there again. You look at Coach Bibb on the boys' side, who's been to the Glass House and wants to get there again. That's the upper. That's what you work for, is to get to the Glass House. And we want to talk to these coaches and talk about their teams, because we follow football. Football is our thing, but we try to follow basketball as much as we can. So it's good to get these coaches on and give them an opportunity to talk about their teams.
Absolutely, and you look, the first semester is about over, and once that calendar turns to January, we know what that means. In just a couple of months, it's going to be baseball and softball season.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's of course you got basketball in there as well, but again, I'm just real excited for to see these on the basketball hardwood and to see what we can do this year.
So Jonathan, we'll flip and let's talk about a 22-year drought that the
Woo!
that the Big Orange finally drained the swamp since 2002. Or 2003. I'm sorry. They finally drained the swamp, go down, and actually really take Florida. And Florida really didn't even show up. It's 31-0 at the half. They win 31-11. I think was the final score.
Yeah.
You know, I mean Tennessee leads from start to finish and kind of takes the foot off the gas in the second half and runs the ball, as we talked about today, 51 times. To get that many rushes in. And but what a game for Tennessee, and what a game for Aguilar. He kind of leads the offense, and kind of he does what he was known to do, and scores 31 points in the first half.
And again, it's just so hard to believe that it took 22 years to win down there. Of course, 11 tries, you revolve out, but again, I was selfish of me. I wanted to see Heupel put it on the throat and score 70 or 80, whatever he could, just to wear out some frustrations for all us Tennessee fans
Yeah.
that have had to go through the trials and tribulations and the mistakes and the just nightmares upon nightmares in Gainesville. But again, it was uh, Tennessee outgained them 2-1 almost, and again, it was just kind of a Joey Aguilar just managed the game well, and then of course Tennessee holds the ball for the last 8 minutes and 30 something seconds, which is the second longest drive since Heupel has been there. And again, Florida, not your typical Florida team, probably one
No.
of the worst Florida teams that I can remember. They only dress 70 something players. And they're ready for their semester to be over, and they're ready to find out who their next coach is going to be.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't think it's going to be Lane Kiffin. I don't think Lane Kiffin goes there. I think Lane Kiffin ends up at LSU if he goes anywhere at all. Uh, but um, but it was good. It's good for Heupel to go down and get this win. And now you get Vanderbilt coming to town next week or this week now, and you got a chance to ruin Vanderbilt's season. And, I never thought in a million years that I would ever be talking where Tennessee has a chance to ruin Vanderbilt's season. And here we sit. Vanderbilt's right now. Pretty much if they win, they're in the playoff. If they lose, they're out.
And again, absolutely, I'll come on top of what you said. I'm 43 years old. I follow football a lot, and I even heard Bill King, who has a radio show in the morning, say he never thought that there would be a day in his life that he would say that Vanderbilt has a chance to go to the playoffs or have a chance to win a national championship. And me either. I am first to tell you, and I think Clark Lee has done a fantastic job at Vanderbilt. They have found a really good coach, and I really hope they commit to the program at Vanderbilt. It's always been a thing. It's always been that they want to win, or they come out and say that, but they never really commit to that. Because let's be honest, an in-state rivalry like an Alabama Auburn with Tennessee and Vanderbilt, it would be awesome.
Sorry, I think I was on mute there. Yes, it would be awesome. It'd be great. It's great. It's great for college football. Honestly, it's great. And then um, you look at Pavia, who's kind of suing the NCAA to try to get another year of eligibility, and now Joey Aguilar jumped on that as well. So you could look at potentially another Aguilar versus Pavia matchup next year in Nashville.
And that's another thing I think, talking about something the NCAA needs to get a hold of is you're looking at 25, 26-year-old kids now that are in that are in college that are playing football and trying to get another year, and they're in their 6th year or 7th year or 5th year, or it just it these 6 and 7 years in college being able to play, I'm not a fan of, because you take a 24, 25-year old that's playing against an 18, 19-year old, it's a difference. And it has helped us out. It's Joey Aguilar has been great. Diego Pavia has been great. We've got transfer portal quarterbacks in the past that have been great, and they're of that age. But I want to get back to the college football where it's 18, 19, 20-year olds playing against 18, 19, 20-year olds.
You're right, and we took advantage of with Hendon Hooker, who was 24 when he come to play in Knoxville. So, you know, they got to figure out something though. As we talked about, if JUCO don't count, then they need to give a D1 scholarship or whatever. I know they go back and forth. They get kicked out of D1. You go to JUCO to get back in, get your eligibility back. But something's got to be fixed somewhere.
But you talk about it. It does bring up a matchup. SEC Nation's going to be there. I think the SEC is going to be there uh, Saturday in Knoxville. And for me, from my opinion, I just do not see how Vanderbilt can stop Tennessee's offense if Tennessee shows up to play. I think Tennessee has got 3 losses on the season to 3 of the best teams in the SEC, and I think Tennessee's the 4th best team in the SEC right now. And I just don't think Vanderbilt has the horses unless Tennessee goes in there and plays dumb, plays stupid, has a lot of mistakes. I just don't think Tennessee is going to allow Vanderbilt to come up there and ruin Rocky Top.
I don't think so either. Like I say, I do think Tennessee is the better team, but I would not be surprised even them coming into Knoxville where Vanderbilt is the favorite to win the game. I can definitely see the odds guys saying, giving Vanderbilt a 3-point favorite or even a 2-point favorite to win the game there. Because they've won some big games too. But I go down and I look at Tennessee's schedule. They're probably, I guarantee they're averaging 36, 37 points a game, and that's a really good time, a really good
Mm-hmm.
team. But you look at the losses. You lose by 3 to Georgia in overtime. Oklahoma, you had a chance to win that game. Alabama, I don't know if you win that game or not. But if you look at that, you take even the Georgia game, and you're sitting at 10-2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably in the top 10, top 8 in the nation.
Exactly. And you have a playoff spot if you beat Georgia or Alabama or Oklahoma for that matter. Uh, but it's going to be a great atmosphere on Saturday. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
I think if I read it correctly, you talk about the favored right now. I think Tennessee's favored by 3.5, or they were last night. Uh, and that could flip at but I just don't think that again, unless Tennessee makes a multitude of mistakes, which is what they're capable of. I just don't see them having the horses in the barn to take us and beat us. I think Tennessee wins by 2 touchdowns.
I really hope you're right in that, because that you wouldn't nothing do nothing but thrill me to see send Diego Pavia back to Nashville and go get a bowl game like we're going to get, because that's what's going to happen, right? Because you're not going to get in the playoff. You lose this game, and that's the thing that I've said even with college football and how it's built now. That is you're okay if you lose early in the season and then you
Mm-hmm.
win out toward the back half of your season. You've always got a chance to make the playoff. Now, if you do it opposite of that and you lose on the back half, you're not getting in the playoff.
No, you are not. And again, I even if they beat Tennessee, I think they're going to have a lot of help in you know this week and next to get in. I don't know that a two-loss Vanderbilt is going to get in over a two-loss Texas, which I mean they got Texas A&M coming up, but I just think Vanderbilt, even if they do come up to Knoxville and win, I think they still have to have help to get into the playoff.
Yeah. Oh, they're going to definitely have help. You're right. But a 2:30 matchup, 3:30 in Knoxville this week, midday game. I think if I ain't mistaken, the forecast looks amazing. Let me go back and check that real quick. I think that it looks good. Um,
Highs in the 50s, I think,
Highs
and
in the 50s. Actually, 49 with a cloudy. So still perfect football weather, 49 degrees, and a time for Diego to come in. And, he talked a lot of smack last year. We go into Nashville and we kind of boat raced them early. Well, actually, I say that opposite, right? We boat raced them late early in the game. You thought Vanderbilt was kind of, you didn't know if Tennessee was on the field. And I think my wife at one point last year said, "Is Tennessee even playing right now?" And then it turned it around. Um, but I think I'm like you. I think Tennessee has got too much firepower for Vanderbilt coming into Neyland to play, and I think Pavia has not played in an atmosphere like he's going to get this Saturday.
no, and again, we talked earlier about bulletin board material. He's been on radio shows and he said that they're going to run Tennessee, and this is the year that it changes, that Vanderbilt starts to take over the state. And you look at some of the stuff that Clark Lee has said. He says some explicits about Tennessee, that he wants to go up there and he wants to go up there and beat them, for a matter of fact word, and he uses a few expletives in there,
Yeah,
but that's again, that's bulletin board material. And these kids, a lot of them are in-state kids, and they're going to be ready. It's just like the Iron Bowl. It's good on good from in-state talent, and that both teams are going to come ready to play this coming Saturday.
and and speaking of in-state talent, you look at the recruiting, you look at what's going on there at Vanderbilt and Clark Lee, what he's doing there, and he just loses a 5-star commit quarterback, and it looks like they're going to flip Jared Curtis to come to Vanderbilt. I mean, how many times have you ever seen somebody flip from a program like Georgia to come to Vanderbilt?
I've got to see that to believe it. I know that there's rumors out there, but and that would be great. I mean, he's a local kid, Nashville kid. I mean, if he can go in there, and he's going to do good things at Nashville if he goes to Vanderbilt, and they'll get a following behind him because he's a local kid.
Yeah.
But it's hard to imagine a kid that has that much talent, the number one recruit in some avenues, the number one recruit in the nation,
Yeah.
flipping his recruitment from Georgia, a perennial power, to come play at Vanderbilt.
And they said that the reason why they think it's going to happen is because the commit, maybe a coach or somebody already told that the other guy said, "Hey, look, we're flipping. Curtis is coming to us. We won't need you now." And so he decommits and he's going to go somewhere else. But man, just to think, and I'm by far not a Vanderbilt fan, but what Clark Lee has done at Vanderbilt has really turned that program. I mean, even when I think even better than when James Franklin there turned it around in the Jay Cutler years. But you got this guy Clark Lee, who's doing a tremendous job at Vanderbilt.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to give. I'm not a Vandy fan in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but I'll give credit where credit's due. And to see where they were last year to where they are now, and where they can go potentially, I would think his name would be on a short list for some of these
Yeah,
better, what I would call better, like your Auburns, your Penn State, even Florida. I mean, I think he's a defensive minded guy, extremely smart guy, and I don't know that why his name isn't being thrown around more, because when you take what I consider one of the worst football programs in NCAA Division One football, and you can have them in 2 years flip to be quote unquote a playoff spot, that says a lot about you and what your staff is doing.
it does. It does. So we'll flip and we'll talk about to kind of end the show here. We're gonna have a short show tonight just because we don't have any guests and it's a holiday week. We're gonna have a kind of a short show, but talk about the basketballs for just a little bit. Tennessee goes. They're playing in the MGM Grand Arena in the tournament that they're in, and um, you get, you play Rutgers today and you steamroll 85-50 or 85-60. I'm sorry, and then you got Gillespie who has his best game as of all yet. So you look at the transfer portal once again. That Rick Barnes, he's really getting good at that. Where um, he finds these guys in the portal that just come and make his team a lot better. Like we said, we talk about Dalton Connect, you talk about Chaz Lanier, and now you look at Gillespie, who had 32 points today. What a performance by him. Tomorrow they face number 2 Houston, a rematch of the Elite Eight last year, and we'll see how that goes tomorrow. And I can't wait to watch it.
Very excited to see. Gillespie was on fire today,
Yeah,
and Houston is going to have the guard size to be able to handle him some. But I'm real anxious to see that game tomorrow, to see how he responds. Bounce back game, or not a bounce back game, to see if he can still come out and light it up like he did today. A lot of the things that you're seeing or hearing about this Nate Ament kid, if you haven't watched him play, he's not scoring 35 points, and he's not doing what the Boozer kid freshman is at Duke, but he is a complete basketball player.
yeah,
He
20
can do.
today.
And but it was like I can't remember him having a run except there maybe in the first half, but when you got a kid, a freshman, scoring 20 points this early in the season, he's only going to get better, but he is a stat filler. Points, rebounds,
Yeah,
assists. He's trying to get his players involved, and then defensively, he's just long, lanky, and that's the one thing about Tennessee. They don't have the girth, uh, that of a big that like Purdue has had in the past, and some of the teams. It's always been a Rick Barnes type team that they've never really had a girth size big, but they have length and athleticism, and they are flying to the basketball right now on the defensive end.
yeah, you're right. Ahmed he's a stat filler. He had 20 points today, 5 boards, 3 assists, and 2 steals. And then you look at them defensively, they out rebounded Rutgers 43-28. I mean, that is huge. And then Tennessee shoots 51% from the field. I don't care what basketball team you play for. If you shoot 51% from the field, you're going to score a lot of points.
If they shoot 51% the rest of the season, it's going to be a really special season for Tennessee.
Yeah, and tomorrow's matchup, what a exciting early season matchup for you had Duke in the uh uh
Preseason type
in the
game.
preseason. You had Duke and you took them. It's a great game, but now you look at Houston in your regular season tomorrow. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be an awesome
Well,
game.
well, and I've got Houston and Syracuse on right now, and they're in a dogfight with Syracuse. It's 44 all with about 14 to go in the second half. So,
And here's what I know. I got to flip the subject back. When you have friends that are Vanderbilt fans, here's what you get: Anchor down and Pavia is your new daddy. So this is what you get when you have Vanderbilt fans that are your friends. You look at Sampson there. He ain't got much sense. He's always been a Vanderbilt fan. He's finally got something to cheer about for the first time in 62 years. But it's okay.
feeling it. Hey, I love it. I love all this bulletin board material. Keep it coming. Keep it
Yeah,
coming.
yeah.
If they beat us, they beat us.
If they beat us, they
Congratulations.
beat
We'll,
us. That's
we'll
right.
meet them at the 50-yard line and congratulate them.
Yeah, but look at once again. You look at basketball tomorrow. Basketball is rolling in college basketball, and college. There's not college football is great, but college basketball is really up the game as far as what they're giving, the product they're putting on the floor for everybody. And college basketball is really taken off to be probably right under college football when it comes to popularity in the United States right now.
Well, and you look at the excitement around the Lady Vols. They
Yeah.
had a girl the other night have 10 threes.
Yep.
Kim Caldwell has done a great job of. She's another one that's gone in the portal and got a couple of girls.
Yeah.
And so again, 10 threes. They play a style of basketball that is fun to watch. I don't always understand why she subs every 30 seconds or every 10 seconds, it seems like, but she has a method to the
She
madness.
has taken the shift change in hockey and brought it to women's college basketball.
Yeah, it's just it seems like there's if they could run out on the court, I believe they would do that. But exciting things there, right now, like we've talked about, Danny White, kudos to him
Yeah.
for the job he's doing. I know he lost Vitello, but he's got the right mindset right now and has put Tennessee on the map with the coaches that he's put in place and what they're doing right now.
You look at he does lose Tony V, but you keep Elander in there, and I mean you lose a few guys into the portal already, but it's not guys that's going to be playing for a meaningful time for you in that baseball program. So Danny White is doing a heck of a job from what he started with to what he's built in Knoxville now, and now already looking to add more seats into Neyland. We've talked about that. He put out a press release last week that it's not fair for people not to have a seat. They want to have a seat and come to watch a ball game. He's going to add more seats to the stadium. I mean, I don't know where you're going to put them, but you already had 102,000 people, but Danny White's
Right.
doing a heck of a job to get Tennessee sports to where it needs to be.
Well, and you look at it, if you win and you're a consistent winner, that's going to turn into something else. I mean, it's unprecedented. It's never happened what Tony V has done,
Yeah,
and it's the same thing with Josh Heupel and what he's doing. I mean,
yeah.
in this day and age of college football, nothing would surprise me more than Heupel to get offered one of these quote unquote higher jobs, and it's all about money at that point in time. I think Tennessee's a top tier program, but I also don't see Tennessee paying what is recorded as to what Lane Kiffin has been offered by LSU. I've seen 7 years and $90 million,
$90 million.
and
Yeah.
I just don't see Tennessee ponying up
No, no,
that type money. Uh, and I don't understand that either because you're offering 7 years and $90 million to a relatively, yeah, he's coached at all levels, but he has never won the big game. He's been on staffs that have won the big game,
yeah.
but he himself has never gone in and taken a team and won a national championship or won a Super Bowl. So for that top figures that you're looking at, like if you told me that LSU offered Saban 4 years and $100 million, I'll say I can see it.
I can see it. Yeah.
And then to say that the governor was going to offer him a $25 million NIL type deal, that's just insane numbers to me
It is an insane number, and
for college.
it is. And I get text messages from my friends here on and says that Dugout Dads, if Vanderbilt wins, we have to give a formal apology to Diego Pavia on the show here. We'll do that. We'll give credit where credit is due
We will.
if they come in and Vanderbilt beats Tennessee.
I tell you what, if somebody can find me a Vanderbilt cap, I'll wear it if they win.
No, I ain't going that far, but
I
it
will.
is okay.
I'll represent the Dugout Dads if they go up there and beat us. I'll wear a Vanderbilt cap.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we can get you one. No, not a big deal
I
whatsoever.
don't have one.
No, I know I don't have one either. I'm sure Samson's got about 20 of them, so it's okay. Uh, But Jonathan, once again, like I said, a short show tonight. We just want to talk about a few things. Really go into the Gorns. We want to talk about Gorns and them finishing out their football season this year. And once again, congratulations to them for going 12-1. Even though you're losing the quarterfinals, you still had one heck of a season. Uh, but we'll be back next week, midweek sometime, and continue our middle school basketball series. We'll reach out to the high school coaches and get the high school coaches on. And then it's about time for us to have another player segment. And we'll
Yes.
bring some of those basketball players in and introduce you to those guys and let you talk about themselves and their team as well.
and good luck to all the teams that are still. We're down to the final four in each one of the
Yeah.
classifications. So good luck. You want to be playing Thanksgiving football.
Yep.
Uh, you've got a really good matchup in Murfreesboro this weekend with Oakland and Blackman. So good luck to all them. And guys, we'd be remiss. Happy Turkey Week.
Happy
Uh,
Turkey Week.
we want to wish each and every one of you a happy Thanksgiving. Hope it's filled with food, fun, family. Uh, you know, we got football coming on. I had a little exciting time last night with Dallas coming back and
Oh
winning,
yeah.
and then they play always Thursday. Then we got Kansas City coming to Big D this Thursday. So
Yeah, and you look at Friday. Friday's a full game, a full day of college football as well, and then you got Saturday with
yeah,
Tennessee and Vanderbilt. And man, what an exciting time! And happy Thanksgiving to everybody that's watching. Go spend time with your family. Happy holidays there. And from the Dugout Dads, where our skills are questionable.
but our spirit is unstoppable.
Until next time.